This is the Patriots Pregame Show, fueled by Duncan.
He's throwing it towards Thornton, left corner of the end zone, caught, touchdown New England!
The Patriots Pregame Show is your source for all the news and information before every game.
He took it to the house, again!
There we
and
go!
The Patriots take the lead!
Patriots Nation, welcome to the Patriots Pregame Show, fueled by Duncan.
All right, it's the Patriots pregame show fueled by Duncan. Welcome, everybody, to the week 2 of the preseason. Patriots taking on the Minnesota Vikings. A little bit of a new look here today for the pregame show. Paulie Perillo down south, taking his son to college. Claudia's out, so they will be back next week. But in the meantime, excited to welcome Evan Lazar.
Hello.
Of course, we all know him. Matisse Bauman joining us. And Evan and I were in Minnesota for the joint practices.
We were.
And I think, Tease, did you simulate joint practice on Madden?
Yeah,
Was that
pretty much.
week?
Yeah, pretty much.
How did that go?
But good for the Pats. So.
Deuce has had that joke teed up for 3 days.
Perfect.
I did. I told Evan in Minnesota, I'm like, I got a good one for Tease teed up right off the top. But no, we love the work that Tease does, of course, on the Madden Sims. And, you're on PU this week as well. And lots to break down. We just have an hour show here, so it's going to go pretty quick. Ev, I want to start with you, though. We were in Minnesota, like I said.
Yes.
What are your big takeaways from those joint practices?
Well, I think it was a little bit of a tale of 2 days. The first day really was flying high for the Patriots. Felt like they won that practice, if you want to go that direction with it. And the second day, Minnesota seemed to punch back a little bit and maybe take control of the day, which is not that surprising when you practice twice against the same team. I think maybe on Wednesday, Patriots come out, take the Vikings by surprise, a little bit of energy, and then all of a sudden it turns the other way. But big picture, I thought the most positive thing that come out of that practice was Drake May. And the fact that, as Vrabel put it, he didn't go in the S-storm of Brian Flores and start doing uncharacteristic things or turning the ball over like crazy or whatever the case may be. So a lot of young quarterbacks can be put in that Brian Flores blender and come out like he just went through a hurricane. And that was not Drake May. Drake May seemed to be poised the whole week and keep his composure, which were all good things to see.
Yeah, I want to highlight the last play of the second practice because kind of universally, TC probably saw the reports. Patriots didn't win the second joint practice. Yep. Oh, no. But the big thing I've been looking for Drake May in this season has been clutch and finishing at the end of games. And although that last period didn't go great for the Patriots, number of sacks, that final play, when he launched it up, and we were right there standing as it came down right into Keyshawn Boutte's hands, to me, I don't want to make too much of it. I know a lot of people probably made too much of how bad the practice was, but to see Drake May make a play down the stretch, the end of the game, it hasn't been going well.
That's your thing. You're right. I didn't think of that.
It's been my thing, and I don't want to overstate it because it's a joint practice, and I still think people who are looking at some of the other elements from that practice and pulling their hair out are crazy, and I don't want to say, oh, well, this is proof that Drake is now clutch. But to me, from what we've seen through camp, little bit of a preview of Drake May maybe making a play down the stretch.
No, I agree. You want to see, you had a good week last week, and you want to see them build off past success. And it seems like, when you get hit, how you get back up. And so if he's able to do that, let's see if he can carry it into this game and then eventually to week 1.
Yeah, I mean, one more point I want to make because I was with the defense most of the time, as I am wont to do. Evan loves it because Evan, you can go watch Drake May.
I asked him on day 2. I was like, "Do you want to switch?" And he was like,
"Nah, I'm good." I'm good.
That's what I said. Andrew Callahan and Doug Kai were switching off, and I was like, "Oh, you draw the short straw. You're over here with me today." Yeah. But I've seen now 3 practices of this defense, and I thought they were really good against Washington. I thought they were really good on that first practice against the Vikings, and the Vikings got them on the third day of their joint practices. So I don't think it's reason to, again, panic and pull your hair out. I think some of the things were the pressure. There just wasn't the consistent pressure in the first 2 joint practices that we saw. In that third one, and you even heard J.J. McCarthy after the practice say, I thought my guys up front did a really good job keeping me clean, allowing me to step up in the pocket, and he had a good day. So things to build on, I think. We'll see how it all goes today. So why don't we get right into the keys to the game?
You've waited all week for it.
The whole team's in the locker room right now just listening to this, waiting to hear what you're going to say.
Here are this week's keys to the game.
I realize Evans have never heard the keys to the game.
No, that was great. I haven't heard any of this. This is great.
It's like this whole new world. Well, Tease, I guess it's both of your maiden voyages, but I'm going to go to you first. What is your key to the game today?
I got trench trust. Listen, the Patriots O-line wasn't great last year. a lot better this year, but it's still not set in stone. So, Garrett Bradbury's been a little shaky. Morgan Moses has been in and out. So there are a lot of guys today that are probably going to be on this team week 1 that are going to get meaningful snaps today. So there's going to be some versatility in the interior line. Ben Brown, Cole Strange, Jared Wilson, Marcus Bryant, like these guys, they're probably going to get their number called on later in the season. So I want to see a clean pocket today, because also that'll keep Josh Dobbs and Ben Woldridge clean. And there might be a little backup battle there too.
Yeah, it's interesting, Ev. We saw Jared Wilson has been working mostly at left guard for that past couple weeks. He came out at the start of practice. He was with the twos. Everyone's like, oh, he's been demoted. And then he didn't practice.
Right.
To me, more of a sign that he wasn't quite ready to go. They knew they were going to have to put Ben Brown in there. But I think Tease makes a good point with Caden Wallace was banged up for a while. He's back now. City So, he's been banged up. He's kind of back in the mix. These guys, I haven't seen a lot of these guys yet, but I think they're going to get a chance today, and maybe they could prove some of that depth that the Patriots definitely going to need on the interior of the line.
Yeah, it's interesting with Ben Brown being elevated to that top interior spot, it feels like, or interior backup, I should say, because is it just that he has center guard flexibility and some of those other guys you mentioned, like Layden Robinson and City So, only play guard, and maybe that's more valuable as like a game day backup that you can play all 3 positions, or do they really feel like he's the best blocker out of that group? Because if he's the best blocker out of guys that you drafted in the 3rd and 4th rounds over the last couple of years, that's a little disappointing. You would like to think that Wallace, Robinson, Sal, one of those 3 would be better at this point than Ben Brown. So we'll see if they get those opportunities. Sneaky one, I kind of thought Mekhi Butler held his own in the Commanders preseason game, and then also in the joints as well, especially in 1-on-1s and 2-on-2s. I thought he was pretty solid. So maybe like an under-the-radar guy that could make a late push here. But I'm with you on the Jared Wilson thing just quickly. I didn't read it as a demotion. I read it as he was not going to practice for something to do with something physical, and I think we actually showed on our socials, or someone did, maybe it was Dan Roach, that he was warming up in Minnesota currently right now, and maybe they're trying to see if he's ready to play physically. They had a watchful eye of some of the coaches on him and things like that. So I wonder, let's give it a day or two of another practice on Monday, maybe today, to see, is that a demotion or was that something physical is going on with Jared Wilson?
Yeah, no question. All eyes going to be in the offensive line. Getting the rookie Will Campbell some more experience. I mean, he was going up against Jonathan Greenard this week, who is, I saw in the NFL release their top 100. He was number 48, I think. So top 50 player in the NFL. While there's some overreaction to him losing a bunch of reps at times, it's also, this is what you want to accelerate the growth of a young player. Have him go up against the best. Garrett Bradbury played a long time in Minnesota in this offense, and he said, this is as hard as it's going to get. Brian Flores' defense, they're throwing everything at us. We have to know our rules and understand what they're doing. So, big day again. I think Will Campbell we'll see a little bit of him tonight as well.
Yep.
Ev, let's move on to your key of the game.
Do I just go?
You just go, man.
Okay,
Just go.
So I'm actually going to go on your side of the ball, Deuce, surprisingly. I'm going to say tackling is my key to the game, because there was 2 things that Mike Vrabel said about last week against the Commanders that he didn't really like as much, and that was the passing offense, which I'm sure we'll talk about plenty, and then tackling, which I thought was like a sneaky thing that he threw in there that maybe you wouldn't point to right away. So I went and looked it up. 11 missed tackles last week. A couple of regulars did have some missed tackles in that game against the Commanders. So they don't do a ton of practicing of tackling to the ground in these practices in training camp. So the only way to get better at tackling is to tackle. And I think these are the only opportunities we're going to get in these last few preseason games. So whether he was talking about physically just missing tackles, leverage, like whatever the case may be, he felt like they needed to tackle better. So that's my key to the game, tackle better.
I'm going to jump right into mine just because I feel like we're in the same universe. Mine's Stay Frosty, quote from one of my favorite movies of all time. But just stay on top of the fundamentals. Like Evan said, and tackling is certainly maybe the biggest piece of all of that. But that's what you want to see out of a team in the preseason. Starting to get those fundamentals in place. Tackling is a huge part of it. But the operation, big thing for our friend Paul Perillo, always talking about the snap, everyone being on the same page.
Snap the ball.
The false starts, those little operational errors kill teams. And as Mike Vrabel said many times throughout this preseason, I don't know if we're good enough yet to overcome those kind of self-inflicted wounds. So I'm with Ev. I think tackling, stay in frosty, stay on top of your fundamentals. Really, that will help the Patriots have a solid day today.
No, I agree. I mean, like Evan said, these joint practices, it's kind of like 80% because you really can't hit. So this is like the true simulation for a lot of these guys before week one. You want to get it done now so you don't get caught week one, week two in regular season.
Yeah, for sure. Well, give us a call if you have a chance. We only got an hour here, so get your calls in quick, 855-PATS-500. Shoot us an email at podcast@patriots.com. And if you don't mind, allow me to take a quick sip of my Dunkin', because we are fueled by Dunkin'. And here's a question for the crowd. If your team runs on their fans, what do the fans run on? When you kick off your day with Dunkin', we're with you all the way to the end zone. Make a run to Dunkin', the official coffee run of the Patriots. And I'm hoping that they're with me all day today with my latte, because I'm going to also be on the preseason broadcast and then back here for the postgame show.
Full day.
So it's going to be a full day talking Patriots. I'm fired up about it and excited to see how this team comes out. Have you mentioned, though, Jared Wilson spotted warming up? Another guy we've seen warming up is Stephon Diggs. I was with the defense, as I said before, but I did the first day glance over, and the first 2 reps I saw of 7-on-7, it was like pitch and catch between Drake May. I know that there's some narratives going on about Stephon Diggs right now. I can only talk about what I've seen through all these joint practices. I thought he's been excellent. I think he stands out. He doesn't look like he's rehabbing. He looks like he's just about ready to go. And we talked to Diana Rossini. You can interpret those comments however you want. But ultimately, at the end of the day, this looks like a guy to me who is making an impact on the field, looks like he's developing chemistry with Drake May. And I don't necessarily fault the Patriots for not, hey, we got to throw the ball to Stephon Diggs every single play in joint practices. They're trying things. They're trying to push the ball down the field. I thought that was a real big key to that first joint practice, almost like they were hearing all the talk of, hey, the passing game hasn't quite kicked in yet. But what have you seen, Ev, from Stephon Diggs just throughout this training camp?
Yeah, I think there's a difference between, is he logging catches in 11-on-11s when we chart all these plays, and are you writing 8's number down a ton or not, and the eye test of how he's moving and how he looks while he's running routes. And that first day in Minnesota on Wednesday, he was putting on an absolute show in 1-on-1s and 7-on-7s. I mean, he was dusting guys so bad in 1-on-1s that he was like stopping just to kind of toy with them and be like, you want to catch up now? Like that sort of thing. Jeff Okudah, poor guy, just like put him right in a blender on one of those routes. And then he had a catch along the sidelines, go ball from Drake May with the late hands where he kept his hands down and at the last second just like put him out and snatched the ball.
Extreme.
And it was, in my opinion, what I've seen from Stephon Diggs, and I'm with you, Deuce, this is just what I've seen and not about the narratives necessarily, is when he wants to go back and be Stephon Diggs and kind of like turn it up a notch, it's still there in spades. Is he a little streaky sometimes in 11-on-11s? I would agree with that. Yeah, I don't think he's been... It's not like he's going out there and catching 10 balls a day in team drills. But when he's decides like, all right, this is a period that I'm going to go up to all the way 100 and put all the effort into it. He's looked fantastic. And normally that's like earlier in practice in 7-on-7s and then the beginning of 11-on-11s. But when you actually watch the routes that he is running, I don't have any questions about whether or not Stephon Diggs still got the juice. Like that guy is still bringing it.
For sure. I mean, Thiessen, I'd like to highlight the other guys, too, because I don't know if it was a concerted effort to target Matt Collins a bunch. We've seen Pop Douglas been really active throughout camp. But you can see that they're working on stuff, too. And it's not just about, hey, let's go out here and really try to move the ball. It's about, hey, we need to work on this play, and it's not quite clicking yet. And, it's about getting better. It's not about, hey, let's go out and show how good we are.
No, I agree. Like, listen, Pop Douglas has been having an unbelievable camp, I think, so far. Like, Commanders, he was doing his thing. But we're talking about these guys, but also a lot of the receivers were still here last year, so it really shown that they've developed. I think Stephon Diggs helps bring a new level as a veteran and an NFL superstar to those guys, so it's just kind of nice to see them develop and hit the next level.
Yeah, I'd say Kayshon Boutte, too, with the catch there that I mentioned at the top, coming through with another big play like that. Good sign for him. He's had a really solid camp. So still wondering how it's all going to look when you're firing on all cylinders. I don't think we've seen that quite yet. Hunter Henry just got back to practice while didn't really participate, though. He was just kind of out there back in camp. Not sure what he was dealing with. But I think that feeds Ev into something that I've noticed, that they're a little bit more flexible with guys this year. I mean, we've seen Morgan Moses, Ramondre Stevenson, Stephon Diggs. We've seen a number of guys show up in the middle of practice and hop right in. And it seems that's an effort to manage some of the load. I mean, look, Stephon Diggs is still coming off a torn ACL, so I don't know what we want. Do we want him to be ready to go right now, or do we want him to be healthy and building towards getting to the regular season healthy and then being able to contribute.
Yeah, I think that's a great point you just made. We're really like 9 or 10 months removed from Stephon Diggs tearing his ACL. And I think that's something that needs to be reminded, is that this guy, even if you think that he's maybe lost half a step, well, let's remember that he's not necessarily 110% just yet as he's working back from this injury. But we have noticed that it's really been notable to me, because I have seen how Belichick did it, how Gerard did it last year, and then this is really different from that. I have never seen players not go through warm-ups and individuals and then just jump right into team drills before until this season with Mike Vrabel. So you mentioned trying to manage things. I guess it's just a reps thing. Like they just want to, okay, if you count Indy, then it's like 50 reps in a day. And if we whittle that down to just team, then now only you're 25 reps in a day. And that's just a workload on your body that they're trying to manage. I suppose that's the way that they look at it, but it is different. There's no doubt about that. So maybe that's part of it, is that it's just for us around here, we haven't necessarily seen training camp go that way before.
It always sends us into a tizzy, because you're out there, we're just crossing guys off. All right, he's here, he's not here. Oh, you know, when somebody's tweeting out like, "Oh, this guy's missing practice today," and then all of a sudden here he comes, and minds are exploding all around. So just something different, and it's another element that Mike Vrabel has, I don't want to say changed. It just seems like that's a new way of operating a little bit.
It's just something we haven't experienced before. That being said, if guys are, missing practice, I don't know if missing is the right word, but, taking a little rest day, it shows chances for like Efton Chisholm, Javon Baker. So, if one person's out, it means more reps for another person.
Yeah, I just know the sports science stuff is big with Mike Vrabel, and maybe a little bit more so than what we've seen in past regimes. And a lot of what those guys take into account is like how many reps at 100% tilt do you have in a day, like where you're running at 100% your max speed. And so maybe like some of those individual things and stuff like that, because you're running routes on air and there's no defense and there's no tackling or anything like that. Like maybe those are more physically exerting in those sports science labs than
got
like
the little thing in their jersey tracking every movement.
Than what so if you cut that out and you just have them focus on team, I guess it's just an easier day for them, and that way they're still getting the work of 11-on-11s under their belts.
Yeah, Tease, you mentioned Javon Baker and Efton Chisholm, and I want to point out something that stood out to me. I was watching the special teams period. That's right, I do special teams a little bit too, Tease. I'm not a defense only kind of a guy. I'll go into the special teams. But they were doing a drill at the end of the first day, kind of a punt return drill where they had a dummy set up, just like one of those big ones, and the blocker had to prevent basically the gunner from coming down and tagging the dummy. And the effort that Efton Chisholm and Javon Baker put into that drill, two guys we all know, they're on the bubble trying to carve out a spot, carve out a roster place. It was excellent. And Javon Baker, especially last drill of the period, had an excellent stop. The whole team runs over. He's celebrating. He's fired up. And I just thought it was such a departure from some of the ups and downs that he had from last summer. Now this is a guy who's out here on special teams, firing up the rest of the team with a really strong performance. And you can notice, last week against the Commanders, he made 2 special teams tackles. He's a guy that has a lot of talent. Evan and I have talked about him a ton on Patriots Unfiltered. But it seems like he's putting in this effort on special teams, and that might be the thing to help get him over the top.
No, it's crazy because you kind of got to know your role here. I know he had the issue with punting the ball, but somebody must have told him, like, you need to lock in because special teams is your thing. So it's like, I need to make the plays here because, like, last week, Chisholm got all the reps, like, in the offensive gameplay. So Baker's got to make the plays on special teams to get noticed. So it's just interesting to see how it works there.
And they made plays in 11s, too. They were going up to Chisholm a lot. Again, that relates to, like, they're trying to see what they got with guys. We're throwing a flea flicker to Efton Chisholm. That's what we're trying to figure out.
He's open.
That's so. But Efton Chisholm, both of those guys had catches as well on offense.
I thought Efton Chisholm on Thursday was their best receiver, and now he's going up against the twos of Minnesota, as mostly with Joshua Dobbs, but. He was getting open in the red zone stuff consistently and caught some really nice balls. One of them was like schemed open, his little pick wheel concept on the sideline that his man got picked by Matt Collins, and it was schemed open by Josh McDaniels. But the other one was a corner route that he ran, and right from the slot in the high red zone to the back pylon, and he created separation to create the window for Josh Dobbs to throw the ball into, but then he also was able to finish through some contact and keep the ball secure through the catch point. So he is that island, as I like to say, Deuce. We're getting bigger here over there. Real estate. Go buy it now because it's going hot. Efton Chisholm is coming, and I can't get the images of like watching Welker, Edelman, Amendola, like those types of receivers running routes in this offense, and Efton Chisholm is exactly that. Like he looks like a carbon copy of some of those guys, and it's hard to imagine that Josh McDaniels isn't seeing the same things and is going to say that guy can't help us that's so clearly a type in a skill set that they know how to amplify. And I know it's a little bit of a stereotype, but it's also just like he looks the part. He wears the suit. Yeah. And I can't imagine that Josh McDaniels is going to walk away from that.
I think it was the practice last week, maybe Monday, and was sitting with Paul, and Chisholm had a bunch of catches again, and I looked over at good friend Paul Perillo, who, you got to earn it from Paul. He's not going to give it to you.
He also doesn't like that. He doesn't
usually like those kind of.
Yeah.
But you saw him starting to be like, oh, I don't know. Like I saw some doubt creeping into Paul, so maybe a sign that Efton Chisholm is legitimately making a push.
No, I mean, it's something to be excited for. So I'm really excited if he can build off last week in this game.
If he has like a 65-yard punt return today, it's going to be the full Edelman. Yeah. Like we're going to be like, oh, punt returns in the preseason. Yeah. But it's the strength at the catch point has really stood out to me with him. Is that his ability to really, when he's got defenders draped on him or guys trying to punch the ball out when it gets to him. His ability to really like box out and use his body and play through contact. That's always a question with these young receivers that are quick and fast and things like that, is are they able to finish through contact? Him and Kyle Williams, I think, are two guys that's always the next step. Like, okay, you can get open, you can create separation, but in this league, you have to make catches in a phone booth. Like, you're not going to always have 5 yards of separation like you do in college. So are you able to finish through contact? And I've seen that consistently with Efton Chisholm.
But that's what I'm talking about here, is that like Chisholm made the plays on the offensive drive. Seems like Baker's kind of doing the dirty work behind the scenes in special teams. So like, what happens if Baker has the game that Chisholm had last week?
Yeah, he made some plays, like Deuce said, in sevens especially, I thought, in Minnesota. But I'm with you. I think he's making his push on special teams, and is it enough for Javon Baker to be a core special teamer and then working maybe a little bit more behind the scenes on wide receiver to try to round out his game as a receiver, and then maybe later this season or next season or something like that, he takes that next step to get on the field as a wide receiver. I mean, he's not like, I've seen some like Matthew Slater, like he's not Matthew Slater. Yeah. All right. Like that's not where we're going with this. But like, maybe at some point, like he can make the team as a core special teamer, and then eventually if he can round out his game and be more consistent, he can start getting reps as a receiver.
I'd just say Chisholm on that rep in the punt return, he was the best I saw. The guy did not even get to the dummy.
A lot stronger than he looks.
It really is.
Yeah.
And maybe a little bit different than some of those slot receivers that we talked about in the past. Let's head over to the hotline. Of course, it wouldn't be the Patriots pregame show fueled by Duncan if we didn't talk to Patty and Agawam first. Hey, Patty.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. How you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
I am doing all right. Beautiful day. So I got a kind of a bigger picture question regarding the season. All indications are Travion Henderson is probably already their most explosive offensive player. So do you think they gear more towards the run? We all know that Mike Vrabel likes to run the ball. And I'm not saying that Henderson's going to be like their bell cow, because I'm a fan of Ramondre, and I think he is going to be their bell cow. But I think with those two and Gibson, I mean, they have 3 really good running backs, and I wouldn't be surprised if they get more featured in the passing game, or if it's more like a 50-50 split, and, try and protect those young offensive linemen too, because we know, like, offensive linemen love run blocking more than pass blocking. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, guys, and I'll take it off there.
Thanks, Patty.
Yeah, I think with Travion Henderson, it's twofold. One is just the Josh McDaniels thing of there's always specific roles typically in McDaniels' offenses for running backs. There's an early down back and there's a pass game back, and he tends to like to platoon those running backs for years here in New England. Now he's had some exceptions. I think, Josh Jacobs and with the Raiders, when he was the head coach of the Raiders, played a bunch, played 70-75% of the snaps. But for the most part, that's how it's always been I go back to my teams, like the 2014 era.
Oh, that was your team?
Yeah, LeGarrette Blount, Shane Vereen,
Yeah.
LeGarrette Blount, James White, like that kind of duo, right? Where they have, that type of thing going on. So I expect that to be the case with Henderson. And I know people hear that and they want Henderson to play as much as possible, but you have to use him to keep him fresh as well. Like you can't run him into the ground, and you want to pick your spot so that his impact in the game is still felt, but it's not necessarily a situation where he's going to get hurt by like week 8 because you are just feeding him the ball too much.
He was a nightmare in that first practice. I mean, I kept looking over, and it was Travion Henderson in wide open space. And I tied into what I said at the top with him. Second play of their final situational drill that first day, Drake hits Travion Henderson. Boom, they score a touchdown just like that. I thought it was a great end to the game, or that practice, and specifically that session. But he was a nightmare for that, and you could hear the Washington players talking about it, like we got to get this guy covered, but it's not going to be easy. He's going to make some plays this year.
He did his thing against Washington, but even the Vikings beat was saying like the Pats got somebody special with him. I don't know about you guys. I'm good if he doesn't suit up today. Like I've seen enough. Let's just save him for week 1.
I mean, he can lower. I mean, that last week against the Commanders, lowering his shoulder, delivering the boom. I mean, he runs hard. He's not the biggest guy, but he's stout, and man, is he fast.
I mean, you can line him up like in I formation. I feel like he's at his best out of shotgun, catching passes like Evan alluded to with James White and Shane Vereen in the past. So.
Yeah, he's a special talent. Like I really feel like he's a special talent, and we've seen skill players come in here over the last handful of years, and frankly they've been early round draft picks just like Travion Henderson, and they haven't looked like Travion Henderson in practice. And I don't mean to pick on those guys, but like Sony Michel and N'Keal Harry, like it just didn't look like that. They didn't look as dynamic. They didn't look as explosive as Travion looks. And it's the pass game. It's the returns. It's a little bit in the run game as well, especially outside, like when they toss the ball to him or they stretch it, to him. He has just got a gear to get to the corner that I haven't necessarily seen around these parts, as they like to say, in quite some time. It's been a while. Like maybe I would you mentioned Deion Lewis before, like maybe Deion Lewis.
Like if you pumped him like 20 pounds
yeah.
maybe a few inches too. You're getting a live look here though at warm-ups down on the field. Drake May taking snaps from Garrett Bradbury. We'll keep an eye on that. The lineup, it's always what's the offensive line like, all those things, but Patriots in their road whites for the first time this season. Let's head back to the phones. Anthony in New York. Hey Anthony, thanks for calling in.
Hey, what's going on, guys? I have 2 questions for you guys. First, I kind of want to keep 7 receivers. I'm really liking Evan Chisholm. I'm really liking Javon Baker. My question is, one of them gets cut. Who's more likely to make the practice squad?
Thanks, Anthony.
It's a good question. We always come at it with like, oh, that guy's never going to make it. And more guys make it through than not, right? Like every year there's probably maybe a dozen waiver claims at most on cut down day. So it's something that maybe we overrate like a little bit, that, oh, this guy's definitely going to get claimed. So I don't know if either one of them is an automatic to get claimed, just the way that this been going lately with that, because you have to put him on your 53-man roster if you claim him on waivers. So you have to have an open roster spot or create an open roster spot specifically to claim Efton Chisholm. Which and
there he is.
Yeah, like if that's not a mold that fits your offense and is a skill set that's specific to your offense, then you're not going to have a role for him on your team. And this offense has a role for him. So
don't you feel like Josh McDaniels the only one in the league who would have grabbed him on waivers? Like he would have a roster spot for him. I'm not sure everybody else would.
So the question was who he thinks more likely is to get claimed. I think it would be Chisholm, just because the eye test so far, like Baker hasn't been catching passes. You need a receiver. He needs to catch the ball. Chisholm's done it so far.
Yeah.
So I would keep him just because of that.
There's risks to both.
Yeah.
Drafting a player that you don't know about, and that's why Evan said it doesn't happen all that much. I think they probably have roster spots for both these guys, though. At least the way they're playing right now.
You can make it work.
Pop taking snaps from under center as a joke, as a joke. But we haven't talked a lot about Kyle Williams, and I feel like that he's been a little bit quiet. But I really thought it was notable, I should say, that Vrabel unprompted brought up Kyle Williams in his press conference the other day as a guy that is creating a lot more separation and sort of catching the coach's eye more than the box score, whether it's in practice or it's in the game last week, would suggest. He had no catches last week, but might have had like the best game of any receiver, even though he didn't catch the ball.
I mean, he was wide open.
Yeah,
in the end zone
he's
in
just
one of
getting
them.
separation, and Vrabel said that the practice tape shows the same exact thing. So I'm thinking that it's just a matter of time for Kyle Williams, if this continues with the separation that he's getting, for him to get catchable targets, and then we'll see more of that today. I think, like, I would not be surprised if we saw Kyle Williams have a big play today, because it's coming. Like, you can see it coming on the practice field and on the game tape.
So we got a punt return from Chisholm.
Yeah,
and a big play from Kyle Williams.
Am I doing good?
Our predictions.
Am I doing good? This is what I'm supposed to do, right?
Exactly. Well, we're going to take a quick break here, but the Patriots pregame show is sponsored by Massachusetts 250 campaign, commemorating a history of possibility. Plan your revolutionary weekend at massachusetts250.org.
If you're gonna play the game, boy, you gotta learn to play it right.
DraftKings is all about responsible gaming. It's more fun when it's for fun. So play responsibly. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction.
Popsicles, sprinklers, a cool breeze. Talk about refreshing. You know what else is refreshing this summer? A brand new phone with Verizon. Yep, get a new phone on any plan with Select Phone Trade-in and My Plan. And lock down a low price for 3 years on any plan with My Plan. This is a deal for everyone, whether you're a new or existing customer. Swing by Verizon today for our best phone deals. 3-year price guarantee applies to then current base monthly rate only. Additional terms and conditions apply for all offers.
It ain't my dad's razor.
Without good blocking, your team's not going anywhere. Cisco blocks cyber attacks for customers around the world, including the entire Fortune 100 and the NFL. Because when the game is on the line, and it's always on the line, the NFL relies on Cisco.
It ain't my dad's razor.
Hey, watch it.
It's from Gillette Labs. This green bar releases trapped hairs from my face.
Game changer.
While the Flex This contours to it, so the 5 blades can get virtually every hair in one stroke for the ultimate Gillette shaving experience.
The best a man can get
is Gillette Labs.
If you're gonna play the game, boy, you gotta learn to play it right.
DraftKings is all about responsible gaming. It's more fun when it's for fun. So play responsibly. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction.
Popsicles, sprinklers, a cool breeze. Talk about refreshing. You know what else is refreshing this summer? A brand new phone with Verizon. Yep, get a new phone on any plan with Select Phone Trade-in and My Plan. And lock down a low price for 3 years on any plan with My Plan. This is a deal for everyone, whether you're a new or existing customer. Swing by Verizon today for our best phone deals. 3-year price guarantee applies to then current base monthly rate only. Additional terms and conditions apply for all offers.
Join the show by calling in at 855-500 or email at podcast@patriots.com. Now, back to the Patriots pregame show fueled by Dunkin'.
Welcome back to the Patriots pregame show fueled by Dunkin'. We're flying right along here as you continue to look at warm-ups. Afton Chisholm, and there's Craig Woodson making a catch there. He's been I don't want to call him a surprise, but him and Jalen Hawkins, the two Cal Bears there on the back end, really playing a lot together, getting opportunities, and he's one rookie that I'd like to see a lot tonight. Ev, what do you thought of him so far?
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of storylines right now going around about Kyle Duggar and what his future is on this team, and that's directly related to Craig Woodson, as you see Kyle Duggar coming right into your living room right now. So there you go. I think the biggest thing with Craig Woodson that I see is just flexibility back there to play a little bit more in space and coverage than what we've seen out of Kyle Duggar. I don't know yet if Craig Woodson is an impact player on the ball, but he's a positional player that is in the right spots and can cover a lot of grass and like that sort of thing. And that might be what's best off of your boy Jabril Peppers deuce. So it's like one of those things where it might just be a better fit next to Jabril Peppers, who they seem to really like as a coaching staff. So that's what I see with Craig Woodson is he can play deep, he can play split, he can play center field, he can play down in the box, he can man-to-man against tight ends, and he can kind of be this movable piece that allows Peppers to just kind of see ball, get ball. And that's where Peppers is at his best as well.
Yeah, Jabril Peppers, maybe the play of defensively of the week where he went up and knocked away a deep ball right in the middle of the field. I think maybe that's why we didn't see him on the second day. Seems like he came down on his butt a little hard maybe.
Tailbone.
He was around, but it just landed hard, but made a great play. He's all over the place in this defense. Seems like they have a plan for him. Batiste, I know you want to talk a little quarterbacks.
Yeah, a little quarterback action.
You know, from Josh Dobbs this week, we heard Mike Vrabel say he needs to be a little bit more consistent, a little more accurate. He certainly has made some plays during camp, but kind of the quintessential backup quarterback. Really smart guy, has been around, knows his role. I really like him, but I don't need him to be a superstar.
Yeah, I listen, like, if it's between Dobbs and Wooldridge, I'd rather have Dobbs as the backup. But that being said, Wooldridge's been playing pretty well, so it's really just who you're comfortable with. But Dobbs seems like he bounced back the second day. I was there, you guys were.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just that's what we need. We just need something who's structured and sturdy there because, unfortunately, people forget Drake May missed a game last year, so you need to be ready.
Yeah, he was much better on the second day. I think the biggest thing with him is avoiding some of those turnovers that we saw last Wednesday, or this Wednesday, I guess, at the joint practice. And Vrabel pointed to that directly about him throwing into the robber. They kind of rotated late with the safeties, and he tried to hit Chisholm on a crossing route, and the safety just jumped the route, and he didn't really see him. And those are the things that, as a backup quarterback, if you were to come into a game, is just manage the game, don't lose the game for your team, like that sort of thing. And it's not necessarily looking for him to, throw bombs and fit the ball into tight windows. So I think that that's where they need to get with Dobbs. Now, I'm not necessarily of the thinking that they have a problem at backup court. Like if they're playing their backup quarterback, they have a problem. Like if Drake May is hurt, then we have problems, right? Like that's the biggest thing. If you're expecting your backup quarterback to come in and win you the Super Bowl, then I don't know. I don't really know if we're really talking the same language there.
No, and real quick before we go back to the phone lines, that's one of the biggest things I've taken away kind of from the last week of all this narrative is like, hello, everyone. Like, we're trying to build something here. We're trying to construct a Super Bowl contender. I want them to be good. They want to put the pieces together to have their program, as Paul would say, in place. But we're in the beginning phases, it feels like, of this. And I just think we need to be patient and let guys develop. And some of these rookies, like, let them take their lumps. It's going to happen. But we have a long-term focus that we're going to peak all together eventually.
I think the Commanders did irreversible damage to the NFL by the quick turnaround. So, but yeah, no, Deuce, you hit it on the head there. We're building towards something, so let's see what they got.
Let's jump back to the phone lines here with Danny in Indiana. Hey, Danny. Danny.
We can't hear Danny.
No,
Danny's not there.
All right, Danny, call back. Oh, I think he was just about to click on.
It's all right.
Call back, Danny. We're going to head up to New Hampshire with Nolan. Hey, Nolan, thanks for calling in.
Hey, guys. I was wondering with Doug's situation, who do you think is going to take the spot in the roster? And as the year goes on with injuries at the safety spot, do you think that would wind up being kind of a sneaky spot of need? Thank you.
Thanks, Nolan.
Well, I thought it was a sneaky spot of need the last couple of off seasons. And then they drafted Woodson. And I think they hope that Woodson can at least be, I always go back to Duron Harmon. Like, I'm not asking him to be Earl Thomas, but, like, can he be
a clutch, solid player?
Yeah, right. And I think that's really what they're hoping for and sort of what they need, ideally. Now, could that mean if, like, a safety is the best player on the board, if Caleb Downs is sitting there staring at you in the face from Ohio State, do you take him? Like, maybe. Like, that's a guy that's, some people think is going to be the next big Ed Reed, type of safety.
Don't tell Bill that.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's awesome player, but that's a ways down the line. I don't think that they're necessarily going to have to look that deep into safety, but I hear people with safety depth, linebacker depth, like there's some questions there, but to Deuce's point just now, it's year one. Like they're going to have some depth concerns at certain spots. They're turning over the roster. They have basically a bunch of new starters on both sides of the ball, but it's going to take time to build out the 53.
it's interesting with Duggar. We talked about it a little bit on PU, but he's kind of like, still from the old days, but he has the contract, and like he's pretty similar to Peppers. A lot of his big plays are, the tip drill balls, the big hits, the like goal line situations, and Peppers kind of does that now.
Yeah, thing I thought was interesting, and I thought from what I watched, Kyle Duggar kind of up and down, and had a nice pass defense on one play, also drew a holding call on another. Mike Vrabel spoke about him and how he's learning the offense, learning to be in the right spots. So there is a transition for some of these players. One of the things I found interesting, though, was when Jabril Peppers was out the second day, it was Del Pettis getting a chance to play in the box and play that nickel linebacker spot that we've seen Peppers really lock down. It wasn't Kyle Duggar. And there were, I think, Doug Kyde from the Boston Herald asked about, is there a potential to move him to linebacker? And it doesn't really seem like it. We'll see how he fits in. I struggle to give up on him. If he's having a little slow assimilation into the defense, they have enough depth there right now, I think, to give him some time. But it's an interesting situation to keep monitoring. And we'll see today how much he plays. I mean, he could be out there a lot and maybe late into the game. It looks like Danny from Indiana is back. Hey, Danny, thanks for calling back.
Hey, thank you, guys. Appreciate you taking my call.
For sure.
Yeah, just calling Kendrick Bourne. We seem to be seeing a more youth movement with the receivers, though some of those guys are coming on strong, and we're trying to figure out what are we going to do with Kendrick Bourne. Do you think he provides any trade value? Do you think the 49ers might be interested with their depletion of all the wide receiver core and injuries? Just love to hear what your thoughts are on that.
Thanks, Danny.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if they got an offer for Kendrick Bourne if they took it, but my take on Bourne is that he could be a true IR stash type of player for them at some this season. Put him on IR on cutdown day, designate him to return. If you have a rash of injuries at wide receiver, or specifically an injury at that Z spot where he's going to play, then you have this NFL caliber receiver on injured reserve that you can just kind of bring back, and he's not taking up a roster spot. So in a way, like him getting banged up in the preseason might keep him around. Like I think if he was healthy and he was still doing the thing that we saw at the beginning of camp before this injury in the in-stadium practice, he would probably be traded, because it was just he was like the odd man, right? Like it just seemed like he was the odd man out of everything. So I would say traded if healthy, if not healthy, IR'd, and then you might see Kendrick Bourne in like Halloween, right? Like all of a sudden he's back and he's contributing.
No, I'm with you, Evan. I have a soft spot for Kendrick Bourne. Like I think he's done good for the organization, good guy, good player. But there are some teams that I think could use a Kendrick Bourne. The Vikings and the Commanders. I mean, the Commanders looked like they really needed some help. So I think if you get a decent offer for him, you should do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a question of where's his health at. One of those unfortunate injuries. But we always say it in training camp, these guys who are in position battles, and you get hurt, and it's like, whoa, especially young guys. Like young guys who have, what was your fullback there? Who
was my fullback?
Was it? I've already forgotten.
Come on.
The legend Brock Lampy.
How could you forget Brock Lampy?
I've already forgotten about Brock
crazy.
Lampy. But, certainly guys like that who are undrafted rookies, and then you get an injury, and it's like, well, hey, maybe it's going to be a redshirt year for you. I'd also just mention Jalen Polk, unfortunate injury for him in the last week's game. We did not see him at all this week. Didn't seem like he traveled to Minnesota. So we spent a lot of time this offseason wondering how it was all going to shake out, and then two injuries kind of, I don't want to say make it easier on you, but kind of clarify the situation a little bit more.
Yep.
Let's jump back to the phones. We got Nick up in Maine. Hey, Nick, thanks for calling in.
Hey, guys. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Sweet.
Just asking, what is a roster move that you would make before week one of the regular season? Is there anybody you target to fill a role that may be lacking, or...
Do you mean like outside the organization, or locking somebody up long-term that's played well? What exactly do you mean, Nick?
Yeah, somebody outside the organization, somebody who may be on like last year of a deal, looking for a new home. Is there somebody you target?
Gotcha.
Terry McLaurin.
Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, we have the dreamers of Terry McLaurin and Parsons, but
it's always so hard to predict. And a lot of movement does take place when you have the final cut down, which I believe will be, a week from Tuesday, I think is when the cut down is down to 53. Really hard to project, but a lot of movement does happen at that time. I think a lot of it might depend on how healthy are you. What's left guard position look like? Is Jared Wilson, we did see him trying to give it a go. Looked like to me like he was kind of grimacing
Looks like
a little
he's
bit.
warming up based off our cameras, but it did not. It looked like it was the same line that finished practice on Thursday. with the starting group, but we'll see if that changes in the game.
I mean, I'd throw out, a guy that they just signed last week, Kyle Pecco, who that's kind of an example, not exactly, but a guy who played under Vrabel, who has some experience, provides some depth. He's a little bit older. He's a big body. He helps back up Tonga, who I think has been really good. I mean, he's really surprised me, one of my biggest surprises. So we'll see. It's so hard to project. I mean, cornerback is an issue, and we can maybe talk about that in the last 15 minutes here before we blast through some of these last calls. But to tease it, I mean, we haven't really seen this defense yet with Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis at the same time. I mean, that is two really good players, especially Christian Gonzalez. What's that going to look like? That's what I'm excited about when we get to Oakland, or I should say Oakland,
Vegas.
L.A.,
Vegas.
Where are they now? Vegas, right.
Vegas.
Yeah, well, I forgot. Back up to New Hampshire with Austin. Hey, Austin.
Hey, guys. Quick question for you. Any concern with the scheme that they're going to run this year? I'm protecting Drake May. A lot of those sacks, Sean Payton talks about how that's a quarterback stat, not an offensive line stat. And do we think he's trying to do too much with his athleticism, or what are you guys seeing?
Well, thanks, Allison. That's an Evan Lazar question. Tee him up.
I have a couple of things to say about this. So only a couple. We have 15 more minutes. That's
the end of the show.
And I'm done. I'll just sit and listen. I'll hang up and listen as the host.
This is a personal itch I just want to scratch here for a second.
Scratch away.
Practice sacks, hate them.
Oh.
Hate them. Hate capital hate. Hate them. He is 6'5", 225 pounds, and can move. Newsflash, he can move. He can run. So, we sit here and we say, oh, guy tapped him on the back, sack.
Got him.
What are you talking about? He could just slide up in the pocket. He could just say, oop, bye, right? See you later. So the whole practice sack thing, I get it. We have to tell you when the line loses, and we have to be able to say, hey, the line got beat on that play. And I certainly have done that. I did it on Thursday when they were getting beat pretty frequently by the Vikings. I have just decided that instead of sacks, I'm just going to call them pressures, right? There was pressure in the quarterback face.
I like it.
So can we just stop counting the sacks? You don't know if he would have gotten sacked or not. You don't know if he would have ran out of there. You don't know if the play was going to get off. He was going to get the throw off. We're not watching practice back on the tape, so you don't know how close the guy really was to him. Versus what everything's just kind of flashing color right over through your eyes watching it live. I'm sorry, the practice sack thing. It's not against anybody in particular. Everyone does it. It's just I can't stand it. He's in a red non-contact jersey. You don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know.
There were a couple, and I think it was probably Greenard once or twice, where it was just a straight line to the quarterback and ran right by him. But then there were other ones where they just reach a hand out and they get one tip of their finger and they tap him on the butt and they're like, I got him.
So there was one specifically with Greenard on Thursday where Drake didn't even throw the ball. Yeah. Greenard got right in the backfield.
You sacked me, man.
And the whole play just kind of ended. They blew the whistle and they moved on to the next rep. That's a sack. Okay, but when Greenard drives by and Drake May just kind of gets tapped on the shoulder by him or tapped on the booty, that's not a sack. I don't know if that's a sack or not. Now that being said, with the system with Josh McDaniels, I do think that there still remains to be seen at the line of scrimmage if Drake May has that field general gene. And he's a young quarterback, and it's a lot to put on his plate. And I don't say concerns, I have to see it more. I have to see if he's going to be capable of, all right, we got to point the mic over here, and they're coming from over there, and if this guy comes now, I'm hot, and all these different things that go into it. And it's not just the quarterback. If he's hot, the running back or the receiver, that's the hot read, and that he's got to adjust his route and he's got to turn around and be ready for the ball. So we saw that a couple of times with Travion Henderson, just trying to work that out as a young player of when the quarterback's hot, I've got to turn around. I can't run a wheel route when I'm hot and the quarterback's hot.
Yeah, I learned that in Wedding Crashers where he's like, hot route. I'm like, there it is, Evan. They're running Evan's scheme and they're on the Wedding Crashers. A couple more calls to get through. Pat down in Pennsylvania. Hey, Pat.
Hey, guys. This is a question maybe more for Deuce, but with his affinity for uniform talk. I've noticed we've ditched the socks with the red stripe and white lower half, which I think is a tiny step in the right direction. But given you guys work for the Patriots, do you have any insights on uniform changes coming soon? And maybe have you seen the rivalry jerseys yet? And can you give any details?
Just trying to get us in trouble.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Let me reveal them right now. No, the rivalry uniforms will be revealed in 12 days on 8/28. That's the big day that those will be unleashed. And the AFC East and the NFC West, 8 teams will be wearing them this year. The NFL will continue with that on. And we don't really get any of this information, but it does look like they're going to the gray pants. It looks like gray pants are back. Not sure if they're going to go back to the full blue on blue. There'll be a couple throwback games this year. But I'm with you. I like the gray on blue. I know I'm alone. Some people don't really care for the silver pants, but I do.
No, I like it, but I'm staying out of this one because I don't want to get in trouble.
I like the blue on with the silver pants, but like at the same time, I feel like the pants and the jersey, it looks like it's 2 different sets of jerseys, where the pants match the old Dynasty jerseys, and then the jersey is different. So if we're gonna wear the silver pants, then you need to make the stripes down the silver pants have to be the same mood as the top. Right. Am I making sense?
You are.
Makes sense.
Yeah, the drapes have to match the carpet. Here we go. Fred out in New Mexico. Hey, Fred.
Is this Fred Kirsch?
Hey, guys. How's it going? How are you guys doing today?
Good. Great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I just have a question about Kyle Williams. When's he going to get more involved in the offense? I heard so many good things about him, but I don't see him in the offense. I want to see him in the offense, in the scheme.
Yeah, thanks, Fred.
I thought it was really telling, like I said earlier, that Vrabel singled him out when we were talking about box score production versus tape and what he's actually showing. And Vrabel basically put it on the quarterbacks. He said, like, he's got to get more catchable targets. Like, the separation is there. The route running and the speed is translating, but we're just not getting him the football like we need to. So whether that's just getting timing and details down with the 2 quarterbacks or just the 2 quarterbacks putting the ball in better places like it was against the Commanders, I don't put that on Kyle Williams as much as I put it on the guys throwing him the football. So the good news is this doesn't look like another rookie Patriots receiver that can't get open and has no juice and all that kind of stuff. I think he looks different from that, but until we see him actually get catchable targets, I don't know what he does at the catch point, and I don't know what he does after the catch. Yeah, those things still remain to be seen.
I mean, you got to hope, however long Drake plays today, maybe one shot goes to Kyle Williams. So.
Yeah, I think he just needs some confidence. And, of course, confidence, it's important to have when you're on the road. And with Bridgestone tires on your car, truck, SUV, or minivan, you're riding on tires you can trust. Bridgestone tires are engineered to give you peace of mind so you can focus on enjoying the journey. So whether you're on your morning commute, a cross-country road trip, or a relaxing Sunday drive, Bridgestone tires will be with you wherever life's roads may lead. Bridgestone, solutions for your journey, available now at Sullivan Tire. That was pretty good. Pretty good read by Deuce,
well done.
I would say. But good stuff. And I think, to me, Kyle Williams is like the X factor for this offense right now, because I feel pretty good about Stephon Diggs. I feel pretty good about Pop Douglas. I think Kayshon Boutte is solid. He's got good hands. He makes tough catches. But to have a third guy behind Diggs and Pop, who I really feel can create that quick separation. We've been blue in the face talking about it for years, about guys that they can't get open. Nobody can get open. They're easy to defend. You know Fred's line.
Right.
But if he can really start to develop that chemistry with Drake, especially right off the line, you might really be cooking with gas with 3 guys who can all move and get open and get downfield. And, they've been trying a lot to hit those shots with Kyle Williams. I think, like Evan said, maybe just a matter of time, hopefully.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And, in terms of outside receiver, X receiver, I would hope and like to think that Kyle Williams is eventually going to pass Boutte and Matt Collins in that spot. And he's a better player than those 2 guys are, and that would go a long way. Now, they would be a little smaller, and I don't know if they necessarily would have that downfield jump ball winner type of receiver out of that group, but their speed and separation would be like light years ahead of where it was the last couple of years.
You got to point out too, Ev. I mean, I saw so many examples of them throwing the ball up to Matt Collins this week. I mean, that is just a staple of Josh McDaniels' offense. I just think we're undervaluing him because he's been around the league a little bit, but he is unique in his size on this roster. And, when you look at those 5 guys all together, I like that group. I like there's some potential in there. There's some proven guys. There's Pop Douglas, who seems like he's just coming in to hit his stride. Really remarkable how he seems like he's picking up Josh McDaniels' offense. Maybe some of these things I want to ask you, Ev, was, it sounded like they're playing a little more zone, and it seemed like a little more struggle on the second day with the zone, and that was something we talked about a little bit with Pop, understanding, where to sit and all that. So, again, just good experience, though. But I like that group right now, and, that's, no disrespect to Kendrick Bourne and Jalen Polk, who both got hurt, but right now those 5 guys, to me, I'm excited to see what they can do.
Yeah, Matt Collins, a great blocker too, and he's got some size. So whether it's like early down base offense when you want him run blocking, or it's red zone where you want some more size and ability to win the ball like that, maybe he and Kyle Williams or Kayshon Boutte are kind of switching off situationally on that outside role. Matt Collins made a great catch on Thursday down the right sideline, like in the honey hole in cover 2, tapped the feet in bounds. The refs originally ruled it incomplete and then switched it to complete because it was clearly in bounds. And he's got some size. He's got some ability to win the ball, over defenders and things like that, which is different than the guys we were talking about just a second ago. So he's got a skill set that's unique. He's a different, unique cat as well, I should say, sure. and like good in the room, I think, is a veteran. So
it's interesting because I think he kind of falls under the category of a journeyman, but he's not a normal journeyman. He's not just a guy. Like, if you watch all the places he's played, he's made plays everywhere. So he is something, even if it's 1 or 2 plays a game, they're usually pretty important.
He stood out to me. I've said it a bunch of times now. When we were in Vegas for the joint practices, he stood out to me. I mean, we're watching Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow do their thing, but he was a nice third option. You can see why Josh likes him. I have one thing I want to ask you, though. We didn't even talk about this. I don't know if it was there the first day of practice, but the second day of practice, they had a video board on the sideline.
They did.
And they were playing replays of the previous play.
All 22
have you ever seen that before?
I've never seen that.
Evan was in heaven.
And there was a piece of me that was like, well, maybe I'll just post up in front of the video board and just watch this instead. So I get my phone out, like start recording it. But yeah, no, they did have that. I've never seen that before at any practice, but they weren't pointed at the stands. They were pointed inward, like towards the players and the coaches. So guys were literally watching the play on the field and then turning around and watching the replay on the video board. And the Matt Collins one was actually one that they kind of had a replay. Like Vrabel, like
everyone's
threw
looking
the
up at it.
flag, and the refs looked at it and were like, "Oh no, he got both feet in bounds." Sure enough, and they overturned it.
All right, we're coming down the home stretch here. Let's grab one more call here. Mark in Connecticut. Hey, Mark.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Hi, Mark.
Evan, I'm kind of confused here. I know Jack Westover has the inside track on the third tight end role, but I remember us talking, about our guy Alabama, C.J. Dupree.
I know.
Have you seen anything out of this kid? Like, is he a good blocker? Like, can he run some, kind of little routes that, just to earn himself a third tight end role, or do you think it's pretty much over and it's Jack Westover's job at this point?
I know.
Thanks, Mark.
I know, Mark. I've been waiting for the C.J. Dupree breakout to happen for my take, but it hasn't happened necessarily. He's a big dude. I mean, that definitely stands out. Like, he looks like a third tackle out there a lot of the time, and I definitely think that he can run block as an inline tight end, and maybe has a little bit of juice up the seam as well as a receiver, but Jack Westover's versatility, and we talked to Thomas Brown about this last week here in Foxborough. He can play fullback, he can play inline, he can flex out, like he can do a bunch of different things and sort of be a jack of all trades, and that does sound like it might push him onto the roster, but I still am not 100% sure he's going to make this team. Like, I still think it might be Henry and Hooper, and then we're just going to keep as many guys in the practice squad, and we'll elevate guys and mix and match that way.
Maybe that's a position at cutdown day that they look at, but the tight end spot is also, I mentioned the cornerbacks. We haven't really seen it yet. You haven't really seen Austin Hooper and Hunter Henry together a whole lot. It was a lot of Hunter Henry in the beginning when Hooper was still working back. Then Hooper came back. Now he's been getting the majority of the reps. So that's another twist to the offense you haven't quite seen yet. I look at that spot. Maybe next year you're looking to get younger, maybe add that position, but got to be a fullback or an H-back maybe available, worth considering.
Well, that's the other thing too is, on cutdown day, does somebody get waived? What fullback is very specific. You either have it in your offense or you don't have it in your offense. So maybe a team that thought they were going to be a fullback team, it turns out they don't actually feel like they need the fullback anymore. So he becomes available or something like that, and they go get, because I feel like Jack Westover is a tight end, like his body type, and he's a little bit taller, higher cut. Like, I don't look at him as like how I looked at Brock Lampy, who's like a true fullback. So I think right now they're doing it to keep the mechanics in the offense of how it's going to look when there's a fullback back there. But I'm not 100% sold that the fullback is going to be Jack Westover. It might be somebody from out of house.
Yep.
Well, before we wrap up, let me tell you a little bit about Brunt. Brunt, based right here in New England, Brunt Workwear makes work boots and apparel that are built for the job site. Their gear is comfortable, durable, and named after the real workers in the trades that help design it. You can even try Brunt out on the job, and if it doesn't blow you away, they will let you send it back. Save $10 on your first order at bruntworkwear.com/Pats or with coupon code PATS. And our final one, of course, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the New England Patriots. I'll be looking forward to having one of those Bud Lights tonight when we wrap up this game. But final thoughts, Tease, what's one thing you want to see today?
Like I said, I just want to see a clean pocket. I want to see Josh Jobs and Ben Wooldridge have time to throw today.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'll go back to tackling. We'll just stick to our keys of the game.
All right, we're going to remind you of our keys.
Yeah, we're going to remind you of our keys. I'm going to say tackling. Fundamentals is a good way to put it, Deuce, as well, just across the board. That's all you're looking for this time of year. And I thought we're kind of flying high after they beat Washington 48-18. The scoreboard looks great. You watch the film the next day and you're like, all right, this is still kind of a preseason game. Like, there's still some sloppiness. There's still some missed tackles, missed assignments, like things like that. So kind of brought me down back to earth a little bit watching that tape last week.
And you went to the tape for that, but I would say the Thursday practice, everyone saw it. And this is kind of the first little tiny bit of adversity that this team has had. You hire a new coach, you change the regime, everybody's flying high. We love Mike Vrabel, and the team loses a joint practice, and now you're starting to test what you're made of. So I think it'll be interesting just to see how this team comes out tonight, the energy that they play with. They were trying to establish that culture here. We'll see if it carries over to the game. So enjoy the game, everybody, and you'll see yours truly in the Bob's Discount Furniture Studio providing my insightful analysis with the McCourties. Enjoy the game. Come back afterwards for the post-game show. Hey, this is Deuce. Thanks for tuning into the show. If you really want to help us, make sure you like us wherever you get your podcasts, like Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, make sure you follow us on the New England Patriots YouTube channel to see this show and everything else that we do here at the Patriots. Thanks a lot.